Welcome to Speed Scene Live TV, the only show dedicated to the sportsman racer. Brought to you by Curry Rear Ends, Hedman Hustler Headers, M&H Tires, Aeromotive Fuel Systems, and TheFote.com. With your hosts, Diana Might, Bruce Barker, Scott Lucky Hudson, Alex Rogio, Bob Beck, Bryant Layton, with Donnie Couch and Dar Hawthorne.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Speed Scene Live, high atop the Speed Scene Live studios in beautiful downtown North Hollywood, California.
That's right. We're high atop the studio.
atop.
The studios
Dude.
are actually down underneath us.
Dude, we're on the first floor, but we is high on top. Anyway, well, along with us tonight, making a 2-week-in-a-row appearance, it's the lovely Alex Rogio.
I am back again, and I'm glad to be back.
Nice.
Yeah, you heard Bruce Barker in the background. He is the
Hi-ho.
master of all the switches, all the computers, all the microphones. He is the man behind the curtain.
And this graphic.
Yes, that
Okay,
too.
just thought we'd let
Yes,
you
he
know.
is.
Yeah.
Behind every graphic.
Behind every graphic is a
Everything.
Bruce. No, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. Anyway,
Well.
we're going. How you
have to
doing
be
out
so
there tonight?
graphic.
We have got a great show for you. We're going to get into the history of a few things. I'm going to be doing a little bit about your first car. And then we've got a lady that's going to be calling in.
Wait, whose first car?
Well, just about every guy had one of these first cars.
Oh, it's
Well, what about every gal?
Well, not every girl. They may have. I don't know. They could have had the Barbie version. I don't know. But
Oh, come on. That's not what I meant. I didn't mean the Barbie version.
oh,
I never
well.
played with one Barbie. Thank you very much.
No,
You
but-
didn't? You
but-
never
No,
did? Yeah.
I was not interested in that. I was much more interested
Well,
in
that's
riding
you're
my
the
four-wheeler
car
around.
girl, for Pete's sake.
I was
Exactly.
interested in the Barbies, but for different reasons.
Oh.
Anyway, that's another
That's
story.
different.
Yeah, I started at a young age. Finally got rid of them when I was in my 30s. No,
Oh,
no, not at all. And I never did have a GI Joe though. That's it. No competition for me.
you know, I did.
You did? Huh?
I did have a G.I. Joe. I wonder what happened to that guy, too. He's probably worth a lot of money now. But
Might be, yeah. Check the trunk of your Mustang.
yeah, if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be there, man, in that crazy Mustang. By the way, thanks to the Nostalgia Super Stalkers, and we're not listening to interviews here. We just wanted to get some great footage from you guys as we
Yeah.
take a look at some of these cars and launch into the show. So,
Say Nostalgia Superstar. I love that category. I mean,
Where was this? Do you know? Where
you know
does
what?
it
I
place?
could pull that up in a sec, but I do not know at this point.
did Lucky send that in?
We actually had these guys on the show a few
Oh,
weeks
okay.
ago. So, but yeah, man.
It's a great category, and I'm a door slammer guy. I love the fuel cars; they're fine, but when it comes to drag racing, I don't get any more excitement out of a fuel car than I do out of a super stock
Man.
or stock eliminator. Watching those guys launch, I mean, it's always wheels up,
yeah.
and all steel-bodied production cars. That was the days when you raced on win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think Ford and GM are trying to go back to that. They've got the part number cars you can buy and go drag racing with the Cobra Jet. You've got the COPO Camaros and so forth. And now Chrysler's they've come out with a couple of different versions of the Challenger.
Yep.
The Viper-powered one, and now the Hellcat is coming out.
The Hellcat. I know we've got a little update on that later in the show.
Yes, we have a little video of my experience with a Hellcat.
And meanwhile,
That's gonna
I'm
be cool. We had one at Irwindale 3 weeks ago. I guess it was a while ago because it's already in Motor Trend magazine's issue this month.
Cool.
No, see, this is why I watch this show.
Is that why?
Because I had not even, I'm so out of the loop and it's embarrassing, but it's the truth. I'd not even heard of the Hellcat.
Well,
And
you're
now,
a
now
Ford
it's going to be
guy.
on the show.
You're a
You'll learn all
Ford
about it.
guy.
Yeah, but if Ford tomorrow released the Thunderbolt, whatever the new edition
Yeah.
would be, it would be 3 months before I realized it was there. Although, boy, you can bet when that GT40 came out, I was going, wow, I wish I was rich.
Yeah, very. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were beautiful cars. I saw the introduction of that at the Woodward Dream Cruise,
Oh, man.
and that was an exciting piece of machinery to see.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And I remember the discussions going on back then. They wanted to call it the GT40 again, but Ford doesn't have the rights to the name GT40.
Did they ever?
No, that's the problem. So that car was built in Great Britain, not in the U.S.
I did not know
So the
that.
GT40 was a name held by the chassis builder, the car builder in Britain. So that's why they
Whoops.
couldn't call it a GT40 when they came out with the new one.
So
they
the
had
new
to call
one's
it a
just a-
Ford GT.
Okay, a Ford GT. Yeah. It's very similar though. I
Yes.
mean, the body looks very similar.
It is a retro version of that made better with all the good stuff things that the other one never thought of, like roll up windows, air conditioning,
Yeah.
basic things that we look at today as a necessity.
Yeah, there's probably a radio in there somewhere.
Yeah, great stereo, comfortable leather seats.
Oh, stereo even.
Stereo, yeah, it had two speakers, one in the front, one in the back, and dual exhaust. Yeah, but no, that was a great car, and but it was amazing to see.
Okay, well, so back to the Hellcat. I know we're jumping into,
Yeah.
all over the place here on Speed Scene Live tonight. By the way, thanks for joining us. And, of course, Lucky, Dynamite, like half the crew is out on
traveling.
assignment tonight. But, yeah, everybody's racing.
Well, they were back at Epping at the East Coast version of the Hot Rod reunion.
Yeah, fun
So,
times. I
they
can't
were
wait
back
to
there.
see some video from that thing.
Yeah, well, Bobby Schlegel already called me to tell me he went over or was setting up his two dragsters at the event, and Lucky and Dynamite with their guard dog came over to say hello to him. So, it's and Bobby, yeah, I got the shirt on, Bobby. See?
Oh,
Bruce?
hey, look at that.
Yeah, see?
That-
got the shirt on, Bobby.
That
Tell all your
exact
friends
same.
they missed it.
That's right. The Hell's a Poppin' Car
That's right.
wears Speed Scene Live stickers.
And next week, I'm going to have the new shirt for the new event on.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll try and get Lucky and Diana to wear theirs as well. You've got one too, Bruce.
That's right, I do.
right.
Maybe I should change during the commercial break.
You could do that.
I think every time we come back from a commercial, you need to use a different
Sure.
voice.
A different voice, yes.
Because I know you have 1,000 of them.
You can do a
Funny.
helium voice too. Ha
You never know what you're going to get
That's right.
here on Speed Scene Live.
And, well, we got some great super stocks there. We're going to talk to a lady in a little bit, and Alex
By the
is,
name of Judy Lilly.
yes, and
Who was Miss Mighty Mopar, still is Miss Mighty Mopar.
Yeah.
And she was a stock and super stock, as well as a bunch of different classes in the early 60s. And she's going to be calling in a few minutes, and we're going to have an interview with her that I did in Denver, and lots of stuff about Miss Mighty Mopar.
So she was a racer. She was not as much a model as she was a driver.
She was an absolute driver. She started driving with her husband, I believe, who was the tuner and builder of the car, and she started racing a Corvette, and
Yep.
then eventually moved to Mopar when they asked her, we want you to race Mopar from now on. And she was the one to beat. She won a bunch of races. If you pulled up in the lanes next to Judy Lilly, you were scared. And that is something that I like.
yeah, and her Mopar was considered a Chevy killer.
How about it?
Yes, guys, she beat the Chevys.
Okay, so she's coming up on the show.
Yes,
I know we've also got an edition, Bob, tonight of the Great American Auto Scene.
we definitely do, and we're going to take you back to the olden days, and possibly the first car that you or I ever drove. So back on gas, we're here at Gas, and I'm Bob Beck. You've got gas, and this time we're going to talk about pedal power.
Aw, so cute.
I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, I wanted a pedal car so bad. My dad didn't want me to have a pedal car. He got me the pedal motorcycle. I had a trike. I had the police version of a Harley pedal car, or pedal trike.
When I was a kid, we had something similar to that, although it wasn't a branded one. They kind of just swooped together some shapes and things and gave it three wheels, and so it was a pedal vehicle. But it
Pedal
was-
vehicle, yeah. Well, mine actually looked like a cop vehicle. It was black and white. And then
Awesome.
later on they had, and I couldn't find any pictures of that one, but I think I did find a picture that we'll see later on of the Good Humor version.
Oh,
The
nice.
ice cream truck version.
The ice cream truck version. Hey,
But these are
Alex,
some
what
great
was your
shots.
what was your first pedal car? Did you have one?
I don't think so, because I don't even really know what you're talking about. Like, do you mean like a tricycle?
Or
No.
like those things where,
Those
like
are
the little
little
car
bitty
on the
cars.
screen here, where
See-
you sit in it and pedal
You
it.
guys, I was born in the 90s. You have to understand this. This
That's
did
right.
not exist when I was a kid. I'm not trying to.
Well, no, they did, but they were
Date
electric
anybody
by
here,
then.
but-
Yeah.
All right, like the
Yeah.
Jeeps and stuff that you see. And
Exactly.
attention viewers, the '90s was like early yesterday.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I was born yesterday. I had an electric battery powered like 4-wheeler. That
Okay,
was
so-
my pedal car.
That was close. It had two
enough,
pedals.
man.
It had a gas and a brake.
There you go, pedals.
Yeah, pedals.
Exactly,
Okay.
sorta.
Well, let's take a look at something because a lot of us grew up with these metal pedal cars, and some of them were even a replica of a full-size real car.
I'm
now, the
not
shot
sure
we're seeing
this
right
one
now,
is.
these are British.
Oh.
And if you look, those are little Austins, and they actually had a hood that opened up. But the Brits
That's so
made
cool.
some more detailed pedal cars than we did. But let's run through that, and we'll go through it. Ford even had the Mustang pedal car. 1965, and you can get a Mustang for the kids when you bought your regular Mustang or your full-size Ford, as the picture shows there. Now, here's a little guy, he's doing it right. He parallel parked.
Oh my God! This
Yeah, he's
is
got his
so
little pedal
cute.
car there. It kind of looks like a scene out of New York or some, real,
Yeah.
real tight city area. But I mean, look at the car behind him. I'd love to have that Buick convertible that's behind him. Yeah, that's
Wow.
late 40s.
Yeah, this has got to be early.
Well, in 1959 Ford, driving down the street, there's a Peugeot in front of him. A Peugeot or Citroen or one of those French thingies. And he's got his pedal car. He parallel parked it real nicely.
He really did.
He
Good-
did.
Good for him.
Now, they even had a Shelby version of the
Wow.
Mustang pedal car.
Dang,
he
what would
endorsed
that
it.
be worth now?
That is a current one.
Oh, okay.
That was a late model because if you look at the cartoonish picture of Shelby, that's in his later years.
Oh, you're right.
But this is one when they came out with the Mustang pedal car again, and you can buy them new today.
Oh, look at this Corvette.
This was great. I mean, I remember seeing these, and these are the ones I wanted. Now, I had the go-kart version of that Corvette.
There was a motor in yours.
There was a motor. There was a Briggs & Stratton motor. I found it at Pomona a bunch of years ago, and for the life of me, I think someone offered me more, double or triple what I paid, so it went down the road. But I had the Corvette, and right behind the driver, there was a cutout to clear the engine that got that cleverly blocked by the driver in there.
Did yours come with these two GM executives as well?
No, mine had the recall, so it didn't. No. Here's an old timey. Here you go, 1920s vintage, and the kids dressed up as a cop. I mean, they got into costume. They got into this stuff.
This
This kid's dressed up as a cop.
And opening doors? And,
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at the headlights, grill. I mean, this thing looks like a shrunk real car. Now, some of these could have been engine powered.
Yeah. Like that one.
There we go. Now, there's a Thunderbird,
She is
57
stylish, yep.
T-Bird.
Yep.
Now, looking at the picture, that's not a very old picture, so that could have been a restored version of the car.
Okay, how much did these things cost?
But anywhere from about $29 up.
The first image that we saw,
Yeah.
as you started this report, Bob, now granted it was a British car, so
Yeah.
it may have been a monetary
Pounds.
conversion there.
Yeah.
Although it listed it in U.S. dollars, it was $25.
Yeah.
For the Cyclops Jupiter was
That's
the brand
it.
name of that first.
Oh, there were so many different ones, and it's gotten to the point now. I was at the West Coast Customs Car Show. There's a whole separate division for pedal car competition.
Wow.
Competition.
Competition. They build them and they show up. And even Anna Marco, our friend from Old School Rods and Deluxe Rods,
Yeah, and the
she
Peterson
has one
Automotive
that Stormy Bird built for her, and she's going to be racing that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Nice.
All right, now, Pontiac. You even got a Pontiac convertible.
I had no idea. And that one, the scale is quite good on.
Yeah, it's about 1955, 56 vintage. I get my Pontiacs of that year mixed up sometimes. 55 and 6 were pretty close,
I see.
as with the Chevys, but I know the Chevys.
It might have a little more style than that Cadillac.
You know what? I think I'd rather have the Pontiac.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Enclosed, the Model T.
Oh,
How
this
about
kid,
that?
man! When he grows out of that, no one will ever drive it again. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And the other thing too is if he grows out of it while he's in it, he can't get out.
Just climb out the window.
But yeah, just well, he might have to, or maybe there's no roof on it. He climbs out the top. But I mean, this is just flat cool, and this is 20s vintage.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 1950s, and you got a Jeep.
That is something. Looks like it's U.S. Air Force markings.
Yeah, and I remember those. They were either in the U.S. Air Force blue, or you had them in the OD green Army, or a dark blue was Navy.
Looks like a California shot too. The
Yeah, it's a
license
California
plate in the
license plate on the back of that 57 Chevy wagon.
Yeah.
But definitely a 1950s photograph, because look at the house styling, and no one would allow a 57 Chevy now to have mud on the tires.
That's right. It was just a car then.
It was just a car. It was a daily driver at that point.
Yeah, and somehow even the photo, that vintage look,
Yeah.
it's got that tone.
Yeah, it's got that off-color,
Faded.
Yeah.
Kodak color.
Yeah.
All right, now, you know
Oh my
kids
gosh.
work on the cars just like adults do. He had no idea what he was doing under there, but he was doing something to make it just like Dad did.
Well, he's doing it safer than me, man.
Oh, yeah, look at that. You have three jack stands
3
holding
jack
that thing
stands.
Yeah. This one claims to be a hook and ladder vehicle, although
could
the
be.
ladder is missing.
up. Well, that was the first thing we took off, was all the things that fell off.
Yeah.
Made it heavier,
Made it heavier, and they got in the
strip
way,
the weight
and
out.
we're stripping it. Now this kid's got his own garage. Come on.
Look at that car, though.
Look
It
at
is
how
so
detailed.
well made.
Yeah. And
That's
that was,
right. I can't believe they were $29 for a car. Although $29
But you got to remember,
then.
the average salary at that point was less than $1 an hour.
Right. Yeah.
True, and a Model T, at least at
It
its
was
cheapest.
400 or 500.
Yes, I think
Or less.
later. Yeah, later it got less and less. Oh, geez, this kid's taking his life in his hand.
Well, it
the
depends.
real street.
Maybe the Chevy behind him's trying to catch up.
Yeah.
But this is about 1954, 55. There's a Ford right in the background there.
yeah, and what is that? Is that a
Cobblestone
Buick?
Street. There's a Chevy behind it, a Chevy Bel Air to the side of him. There's a Ford behind that, and a Plymouth. Plymouth behind that. About
So
a
is he
53
driving?
Ford.
He's driving a Buick or an Oldsmobile?
The kid?
Yeah.
He's driving a Cadillac or something. I don't know.
Yeah, with the droopy headlights.
Droopy headlights. But there is a car called the Cadillac, and I think I've got a picture of that.
Unbelievable.
Now, here's another car out of Great Britain. It was the Austin pedal car. This thing had an opening trunk, opening doors, opening hood, had a Mach engine under the hood.
Wow.
This was a huge car. These things, if you can find them today, are big buck cars. You're talking thousands of dollars for these.
How about that?
And they were well detailed. There's one of them right there.
Yeah, with
Give you an idea, with a very stoic mannequin in it.
That's right.
But that one almost looks like
Looks like a model.
looks like
of
a
the-
model of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there, 1956 Thunderbird.
With that beautiful DeSoto.
Oh yeah, look at the Soto convertible in the background. Now this is definitely another vintage photo, not something currently today.
The headlights look real, Bob. Would
They
these
do,
be-
and they might have been.
Huh.
And this could have been another one of those gasoline-powered partial pedal cars.
Yeah, got it.
Here's an early MG pedal car.
Wow,
You know, we think of MG as sports cars that were just driven on the street and occasionally road raced in stock form. But in Great Britain, they made full-on race cars, and this is a replica of one of the MG race cars.
Oh, and that's
Now,
a
they're-
replica of I'm not sure
That's
what.
not sure, but that is definitely a basic bare bones one. And that kid, he's got his racing gloves on and his competition hat. Later, we call those Stroker McGurk hats.
Stroker McGurk.
After Tom Medley.
I've owned a few cars that looked a little less put together than that.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right, there we go. How about a Fiat pedal car?
Wow.
In the winter, no less.
Yeah, well, they drove all the time. They didn't have snow tires for them, but you could drive them all year round.
How about it? Huh. Oh,
Another
that's
Pontiac.
nice. And a two-seater.
Yeah. Now, this one, I believe, is the 55. The one we showed earlier was a 56 based on the side trim. And you can see two of them there, one up at the rack and one with the kids in it.
Man, that's a beautiful car.
Aren't they
I can't
great?
believe it.
Now, this one is a friend of mine's, Aaron Kahlenberg. This is his son in their Plymouth pedal car. And this car, I saw one like it for sale at the Cruising for a Cure last year.
Yeah.
And I think the price tag was $3,500.
Huh. Is this it's a Fury?
Yeah, Plymouth, about 1957.
Wow, and he's got little, they recreate the instruments up front.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, and this is gorgeous. This one's an unrestored one. The one that I saw for sale was restored. And these were promos by Chrysler at the dealerships.
Now, they're all metal, so typically...
No, they were fiberglass bodied.
Oh, is that right?
That one was fiberglass. So was this one. This is in 59.
Because I was going to
Or
comment,
60.
you look at the bumpers and they do not look chrome.
No,
it's like
and this
silver
is a
paint.
60. Well, they could have painted them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But here's a 1960. Now, here we go. Corvette. Come on, guys. I got to get the Corvettes in there.
look at this kid, man.
Wouldn't you be
He's
happy
so
like that
proud.
driving a Corvette at that age?
I sure would.
There's another shot of the Pontiac. This is a single-seater.
Yeah. Oh,
And you
man.
can see it's a one-piece body that's probably a fiberglass-bodied one as well. Not all of them were steel. And now for you guys in Europe, here's your Volkswagens.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out... okay, the one on the right
Looks like it's got a steering wheel sticking up there.
Yeah, that's right. You got a steering wheel, so you're driving it not even inside the cab. You're in.
Yeah,
back
you're
of it.
actually in the bed.
Yeah, but that one, they're electric powered. It looks like, or maybe that's
Might
just
be.
a reflector that's flashing off a camera flash.
And that could be, too.
Yeah, that's something. Oh, nice.
Now, this is a 1936 Ford. It's plastic. And that's my son. That was his first hot rod.
Nice.
And whenever he drive it, he had to put his cowboy boots on. I never figured that part out.
Maybe those are, if he's got to pedal that thing. And if he's
Yeah, he
scuffing
pedaled
his
it hard.
feet
Now,
around.
one thing he asked for is my car was flamed. He had to have flames on his hot rod, too.
Yeah, even though your car is black, but the
Yeah.
flame job is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, and I painted them both. So it was, but we did this one, and, he drove that thing. I think we finally got rid of it when he was in his teens.
Wow.
Unless it's still in the garage at his mother's house. I don't know.
I can't believe, as a car guy, that I never had a true pedal car. I never did. I didn't even have the electric four-wheel drive, machine that you drove, Alex.
Yeah, you were deprived.
Man, I guess.
Is that how we pronounce that word?
Deprived?
Depraved?
No, okay.
Well, that too, yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
All right, we've got more pedal cars, and we've got a special race coming up that Anna Marco is telling us that we got to talk about, and it is going to be a race for pedal cars. And the proceeds are going to go to the Alzheimer Fund by Penny, who does the West Coast Customs for her husband. And we've got the poster up there, or we've got the flyer someplace in that group of flyers of stuff on pedal cars. It's going to be November 29th at Riverside Airport. It's going to be a rockabilly extravaganza, and it's $5 to enter. The runner-up gets to donate $50.
Gets to donate.
That's right.
$50.
Pedal Car Drags is being put on by the Famoso Mob. It's a rockabilly extravaganza at the Route 66 event. Bo Huff, Match Race for a Cause. And
when
it's
is
the
this?
Rich Pichette Alzheimer Awareness Project. And one of the things that this is helping do, they're building a Merc convertible that's going to get auctioned off at Barrett Jackson. The proceeds go to put that thing together so they can make some money for the Alzheimer Fund. If you want more information on it, you can find my page on Facebook. You can get the photo of the flyer. It'll give you the contact information and such, but it's November 29th at Riverside Airport. It's going to be a rockabilly extravaganza, and it's going to be put on by the Famoso Mob, the guys like that race up at Famoso Drag Strip, and Anna Marco is challenging everybody to a pedal car race.
As Glenn Fry once sang, the heat is on.
Well, we got lots more pedal cars there, but we've got Ms. Lily waiting for us on the phone, and I'll tell you what, we'll go back to some pedal cars later on in the show if we've got time.
Sounds good. Shall we get her on? I know we have to take a commercial break here.
Want to take the commercial break, then get back with Lily.
Okay, let's do it. Judy, Lily, stand by. I know you've been patiently waiting, but and for a lady who goes that fast, waiting must be tough. We'll have to ask about that.
Yeah.
I'm Bruce Barker, Alex Rosio, Bob Beck. It's Speed Scene Live. We're going to be right back.
How many of you ever happened to see Speed Scene Live on your computer? You got a great show, and you have lots of fun. And I will be back on whenever I'm invited.
At Aeromotive, we believe that performance means reliability, longevity, and durability. Being the best is no secret. By utilizing aerospace processes, procedures, technology, in-house engineering, true applications knowledge, and 3 generations of track experience, it's easy to see why we're the best. We take great pride in the fact that everything we sell, we design and make in the USA. See our entire line of fuel pumps and related products by logging on to aeromotiveinc.com. Aeromotive. We know it, we race it, we live it.
60 years. That's a long time for a company to do any one thing. Doing it right while sticking to your founding values. Now that takes hard work and dedication. For 60 years, Hedman's All-American workforce has been devoted to manufacturing the very best headers any team of craftsmen can build. That's 60 years of cutting, 60 years of bending, 60 years of welding, more than 2 million in all. And every set made right here at home. At Hedman Headers, we build all American horsepower, then back it up for life. Hedman Headers, made in the USA.
to Speed Scene Live TV, the #1 online drag racing TV show. Brought to you by Curry Rear Ends, M&H Tires, Hedman Hustler Headers, Aeromotive Fuel Systems, and theFote.com.
All these pedal cars, it reminds me of, I used to have Fiats, Bob, as you probably know. I had several different Fiats. An 850, for those who know. I had the first year 850 with the covered Porsche-style headlights that they then sort of outlawed.
Yeah.
And a couple of 124 Spiders, which are very common and very fun cars.
Yeah, those are poor man's Alpha.
Yeah, and they're all right. You keep the maintenance okay. I never had the fix-it-again Tony issue that they talk about.
Well, in your case, a lot of the cars leaked, and when they leaked, they didn't get the rust problems.
Yeah, because it was covered with oil.
Yeah,
so it was perfect for that. But anyway, a Fiat Multipla, which was built back in the 50s, really weird, small. It's much smaller than a Volkswagen Transporter, a Volkswagen microbus, but kind of the same idea, much more roundy, holds fewer people, very underpowered. It had an 850cc engine.
Well, in Italy, they didn't care about speed unless you were driving a Ferrari.
Yeah, you just had to get around anyway. The bumper sticker on the back of this car, which was semi-junked, I think the guy kept saying he was going to fix it up, and he never did, because I'm going as fast as my hamsters can travel. It's like, okay, well, that's it then. Those hamsters were their own version of a pedal car.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we've got a celebrity on the line,
We do.
Alex Rogio, let's do some introductions here.
Well, we've got Judy Lilly, Miss Mighty Mopar. She is a very, very special lady. She's an icon as far as women in racing. She started in the early days. Judy, are you there?
Yes, Alex, I'm here.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting on hold, but now we are all about you. So let's talk about how I want to know how you got started racing.
Wow. At the time we were in sports car clubs, we used to go to a lot of the rally type things. And as an outing one time, somebody said, let's go to the drags. And boy, this was a long way back. So we went down and watched, and we had a Corvette at the time. And my husband said, those aren't so fast. We can take care of that. So the next time we had to go down again, and he got out there and got beat very, very badly. And I had just started driving. And I was practicing on the side streets when he wasn't looking. So we went again. Of course, we got beat the second time. The third time, I said, you need to do this, this, and this. And he said, if you're so smart, do it yourself. So I started. And that was the end, end of all.
Well, what made you switch from the Corvettes to the Mopar?
Wow. That had to be 1967.
Okay.
Now we're showing one of the Pappy Fry car.
Okay, that was a 67, wasn't it?
No, I think it was a little bit. Well, may have been.
It might be.
It's one of the square Plymouths.
Yeah.
Little Satellite or Belvedere.
Belvedere 1, 4-speed.
There you go.
Dang.
So, Judy, was that the Hemi that you raced?
It was a street Hemi.
Right, okay. And Mopar kind of wanted you to get away from the Hemi and go to the 360 wedge motor, right?
That was down the road a ways.
Okay.
We went from the street Hemi to the full Hemi, and that was in the limited Barracudas in 68.
And this was in the stock and super stock classes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I read somewhere that you've won at least half a dozen Division 5 championships of course racing in Colorado, mostly Denver, which is where you still currently live.
Right.
So
yeah, I was the land of the rare air, they used to say.
I guess if you can get the car to run in Denver, it'll run anywhere, huh?
It's down the mountain.
Yeah. So, Judy, when you switched, as you say later on down the road, from the Hemi to the 360, you went from being the car that was doing the chasing to the car that was being chased. Were you still able to win as many races that way?
Actually, I gained on how many I was winning.
Oh.
I actually got it down real pat, And actually, there was more to be won. And I just continued on that route.
So did you prefer being the slower car so that you could? Was it easier for you to judge the stripe better that way? What was it that?
I don't think it was easier. It wasn't near as much fun, and I always thought it was a lot easier to chase somebody down. But I think just knowing your own car and knowing what it would do was the whole idea.
Right.
Well, Judy, what made you switch from Chevrolets to driving the Mopar?
I was changing the rear end of the World Finals in Amarillo when they held it down there, the NHRA. Mm-hmm. And I was by myself because my husband couldn't come at the time. And I was changing the rear end out. Wow. And I was on my back on the creepers. And I always used my bare feet because I wasn't that strong. And Dale Reeker came up and said, what are you doing? And I told him. And we hadn't brought the right gears to begin with. And he sat there probably an hour and watched me. And he said, I think we need somebody like you on our team. And that's where it went from there.
So he was as impressed as your ability to wrench as he was at your ability to race.
I think it was my perseverance of the fact I was going to get that change, no matter what.
Well, and that must have been quite the thrill for anybody to watch you as well use your feet. And of course, rear end parts, even for big burly guys, there's some heavy duty stuff in there.
Well, those third members weren't all that great, but, we raced that Corvette, from 61 up through 64, I believe.
Wow. So what was it that gave... Who had the idea to develop the Miss Mighty Mopar brand?
That was Chrysler's idea in their parts division.
Okay. And they were pretty successful at selling cars because of you and your racing.
Well, the people could watch us race and go down the track and go back to the Chrysler dealer and buy the very same parts and put it on their cars and go racing.
Well, and there must have been a thrill, too, Judy, because we're looking at now an image from MPC, one of the many model builders like Revell and some of the companies that used to make 1/24th scale models. We're looking at the box cover of your car. So even kids who couldn't afford to go buy a car and then, they weren't of the age where they could buy speed parts, they could actually go down to their little hobby store and buy your car.
Right. And quite a few of them made quite a success out of gathering not just my cars, but other cars, too.
Yeah, that's very cool. We're looking at the decal sheet that would have come with that Barracuda. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I
just wanted to point out, Judy, that, for eagle-eyed viewers who are, surfing the web right now, which is how you're watching Speed Scene Live, there's one of these for sale on eBay.
Yeah.
Yes, they're still on sale today.
That's right.
We're watching it now.
I still have a few of them for sale.
Oh,
do you?
Nice.
Okay, we got to get your address offline.
Yeah. Bob's getting ready to write.
And I'll send it autographed.
Oh,
Perfect.
even better.
Man.
Okay, we're definitely doing that after the show.
Awesome.
So we're talking about the '68 Barracuda, but then as things went on, you were changing up vehicles and engines and stuff. What kind of came next for you?
Oh, let me think here. The Duster was next with the 360 after the Cuda.
Okay.
And we did very well with that. Then we went to the Volare, and the Volare weighed quite a bit more. So we were, again, going slower.
I think I remember you remarking on how you don't... You said before it's much more fun to go fast, but bracket racing is bracket racing, and you can win a race whether you're going 12 seconds or 10 seconds.
Exactly. And it would leave like Jack the Bear, and then after that you played cards.
Turn the stereo up, listen to it as you're heading down track.
Exactly.
I was looking at the specs on your car. There's a website that's got a lot of information about you and the cars and a lot of pictures, and it shows that you started out in M stock, and the car ended up going into, was it K stock? When you're riding
something like that.
You're driving the Duster. Yeah. But I'm looking at all the pieces.
The Duster was L, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it says it started out in M,
L.
LM K, and
L.
you got faster
And
along the
then went
way.
to M, and then NHRA found that if a car was very successful, unfortunately, they like to kind of pick a little bit on Chrysler cars.
Mm-hmm.
And they always felt that the Chrysler people were underrating their cars. Of course, Chevrolet people never did that.
Oh, no, not at all.
Of course not.
No.
And if a car started winning quite a bit, they always thought that it was necessary to handicap them.
Oh, the lead trophy you're talking about. Add more weight. Yes, I remember that theory.
Add more weight, boost the horsepower up, and, let's make it look like it needs to go in another class.
Well, I'm looking at some of the things that were done, and you had a very relatively mild car as far as what was done to it. I mean, Veniola pistons, Speed Pro rings, off-the-shelf type things, full floating pins, the Cam Dynamics cam.
The rules were such that you could only go so far. They're not like today's rules.
Okay.
Back then, if they said that you had to have a chromed bumper that was stock, it better be looking stock, hold the magnet, and, be there. So it was up to you to figure out how to make that maybe a little lighter, maybe a little closer to the car, you name it. If you could do it without them actually realizing what you were doing, you were okay.
There you go. Yeah, I've seen that in NASCAR, Smokey Yunick doing a lot of those kind of things. Now, you ran
Hand
Mopar.
massage is what they call it.
Massage, yes. He blueprinted the car. And but I always like, we were talking earlier, I love watching stock and super stock. To me, that's the most exciting racing out there, because you can definitely think about those cars, like you're saying, win on Sunday, buy on Monday, but you could relate to those cars because you see them on the street. And especially back in those days, you could walk into the showroom and buy a Hemi car right off the bat.
Yes, and that's what, everybody can relate to. And they're coming back with some horsepower cars, it sounds like.
Oh, boy, are they ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Although, it's funny you mentioned, Judy, the heaviness of the Volare, because cars now, because of a lot of the federal requirements and stuff like that, are heavier than ever. But, man, they just keep getting more and more horsepower. It's
more
amazing.
horsepower and fuel mileage.
Yeah.
And something Mopars do now that they never did before was stop and turn.
What? What, do you want it all, Bob?
I know.
Hey, technology has come a long, long way. And I can only sit back and marvel at where they've gone to. Unfortunately, I think they took some of the skill out of the driving.
I definitely agree with you on that. We've seen that at the drags, where we had a guy come out with the new Hellcat. And when he took the traction control off, it wouldn't move. Smoked the tires nice, but it wouldn't move.
Well, we had a lot of those things going on back then, and we didn't have anything to turn to except our own,
well, you learn
hard work is to figure out what's going on.
That's it. You learn to drive the car and not overpower the track. Today, everyone says, well, he's got to spray the track. You got to have the VHT, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and it's the track's fault. And no one drives the track like you had to do in those days, especially with those cars that were very technologically, antiquated to what we're used to today.
Well, I heard that I heard that the sales pitch for M&H Tire, and I was very surprised to know that they were still making tires, because that was the first one that I used. Actually, Castler was the very first recap that I used.
Slicks,
Oh,
yes.
cool.
We even ran Castlers in road racing.
Oh, really? Is he still around?
Yeah. I don't know if he's still around, but we used to go over to Castler and get the recapped tires to go road racing with.
That's what we used on the Corvette. And then when we started, getting a little more horsepower, and we were in the Chrysler, we went to the M&H Tire. And I believed in that forever and ever until Firestone came along, and they started putting out a natural rubber tire. And my goodness, those things would stick. And then pretty soon they ran out of natural rubber.
Whoops. I think I remember that. That was, 70s or 80s sometime? I'm trying to think.
So, I think it was towards the end of the 60s.
Wow.
Wow,
Or
that
they
long
started
ago.
Like 1970, maybe 71.
What was your favorite car to drive?
Oh, of course, the CUDA. Of course, the CUDA.
Judy, what was it
that
like going from racing at local tracks and doing divisional races to racing at the national races with the cameras and the crowds and the people and the autographs?
I think if you concentrate on what you're doing, you really don't pay that much attention to the people around you.
Okay. Yeah.
You have a focus, one spot, your car. You have, a rough schematic of what you have to do, and your total attention is to what you're doing. And I think that the national meets, because they're so well run, it teaches you and makes you appreciate the fact that some of your local stuff is not run as efficiently, I guess is the best way to put it. So when you get to the national meets, you've definitely got to have your act together, or they'll go right past you, and you'll be left sitting in the staging lane.
Right, they're not waiting for you. It's you're on your own there for sure.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, Alex has given us the rumor that...
Concentration
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Concentration is what it's all about.
Now, we talk about you talked about concentration. Alex has given us some information that you've now switched horsepower.
I always teasingly say I went from, being in my hands to putting it between my legs.
Oh, man.
All right.
I do a lot of barrel racing.
Barrel racing. Okay, for our listeners right now and our viewers, that horses.
Yes.
Horses.
Yes. We went from horses to horse.
From horsepower to horse, yes.
Right. And we go the same thing to the car. Basically, they're kind of the same thing because we still are looking for horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just take an average horse and make him into a barrel horse. And they went from the cold-blooded, more thinking horse that was the quarter horse foundation to more of the thoroughbred type horse, which was used strictly for racing. But if you don't have the right percentage, then you end up with one with no brains, and he doesn't know how to turn. Because the horses have to turn left and right at being at a dead run.
So you've gone from a drag horse to a sports course.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Oh, boy.
Wow. I'm so glad that you're still in competition, Judy, because I think that, being a racer, you can't let that go. You've always got to be in some environment that you can win, right?
Well, it isn't necessarily the win as much as it is the game.
Mm-hmm.
You want to win, don't get me wrong, but the fact that you're competing, I think that's the best part.
Judy, if you had the opportunity...
I'm dying to see Alex drive. I really am.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to come to the national race in October, and hopefully I'll be able to do some good in Super Comp, so we'll see.
Well, she's running almost as quick as you are, or were, in the days.
That's great. That is great. Do they go off a qualifying sheet, or do they go class and then eliminator?
They do qualify, yeah. Everything, it's laddered from the first round, and it's an 905 index in Vegas because of the altitude. And you got to run that number or you're out.
Okay, can you go faster than that?
No. I mean, unless the other car goes faster than you. But
it's an index with a breakout.
Yeah, with a breakout.
Okay. Be careful about the brakes.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
Well, in the Super Comp car she drives, it only has rear brakes, so you don't want to hit those too hard.
Right.
Well, that's true. But the front tires blow out easier.
Yeah, well, boy, do they ever, yes.
I blew out a couple of front tires at Indianapolis.
Ooh. But you did quite well at Indy, though.
Went to the brake light racing.
Yeah. Now, if you could get back into a car, what would you be driving?
Oh, the CUDA.
Nice.
Do you think you'll ever get back into a car again, Judy?
You never know. I had the chance to drive that Challenger a couple of years ago at Bandmere's against Scarlett's, and that was a lot of fun, considering we had no time in the cars at all. We were allowed to sit in them for about 5 minutes, and then we had to go drive them.
Wow. That's not very much time to get used to everything in there. Wow.
No, it isn't.
You probably had the advantage because the engine was in front and you're used to that. He was looking for the engine behind him, and all he had was a seat.
Well, it was a fun race anyway.
Good.
All right. Well, Judy, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show and letting us into your world.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
And hopefully we'll see you at an event.
I certainly hope so.
Do you ever get down for the Winter Nationals or the finals here in L.A.? Or Pomona?
You know, once in a while. It's been a while. I was coming out to Bakersfield for their reunion thing.
You know,
but I haven't done that now for quite a while.
Well, if you make it for this one, please come up to the tower, and we'll chat up in the tower, and let everyone hear about your history and what you've done. And you know, Shirley Shahan normally comes out to the Hot Rod reunion as well. We can get you two together, and you can talk about your days of Mopars and beating guys.
Okay, sounds great.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Have a good one.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Now, we do have a taped interview with Judy as well. So
Yes.
Yeah, so
I suppose we should probably dive right into
I
that.
know.
so.
We're already out of time. Gosh.
We're running close.
Where does the time go?
It just
Well,
evaporates.
it's not going anywhere, but that clock keeps moving.
Yes.
Unless we're waiting for it to move, and then it doesn't move. And,
Look, you. Stop it.
Yes.
I guess we could pull the battery out and then
Then we'd
would
go
never
for
go.
hours and hours.
But if time stopped, then we'd all just be.
Well, you know, if time stopped, my hair wouldn't have gone gray.
Yeah. Well, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, thanks to Big Kahuna 55 for submitting a couple of the questions headed Judy's way, and it's great to see the participation in any form, whether it be that, whether it be. All right. Should we? We may have a commercial break. We could jump right into the interview. What would you like to do, Alex?
I don't know. I think maybe we should just.
Let's do it. Let's take a look at that interview right now. Here we go. Alex Rogio.
I'm Alex Rogio, and I'm sitting in the C&J Energy Services Bob Vandergriff pit here at the NHRA Mopar Mile High Nationals. And I'm sitting with
Judy Lilly, Miss Mighty Mopar.
That's a pretty cool thing when you say. All right, Judy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a little hot, but
it is hot. Are you excited to be back at a Mopar event?
It's always exciting to see old friends.
As I'm sure a lot of people know, when you first started racing, there was very little events on the schedule. How many events did you race per year then?
National meets, there was like 4 to 5 of them, and then they had points races, which you had to run to qualify for the national event. Now they're up to 26, which is about every other week. I think there's too many.
Okay, so did you only race NHRA, or did you race other series, other tracks, events, things like that?
Not too often. I felt that NHRA had the safest rulings of all of the events. There was HRA and IHRA, but they all tended to be more of a run what you brung.
So you were concerned about safety in those days especially, right? Because, I mean, as far as safety advances, they've come a long way since then, and back then they weren't so advanced.
That's exactly right. There was a lot of problems that happened, and people died from it.
And it was kind of considered uncool to be concerned about safety then, right?
I don't think so much that, because the name of the game is to win. And a lot of times things were tweaked a little far past where they should have been. But as far as being uncool, I don't think that was necessary. But there were engine things that you could do and car weight and things like that you could mess with.
So winning was sort of the top priority, and then safety and everything else kind of came second.
Definitely. Okay. Definitely.
So obviously the world today is different for women than it was when you were my age, let's say. If I were to go back in time to when you first started racing at the beginning of your career, what would I find that's different?
You would find different things that went on in different associations where they didn't even allow you to race, except in the powder puff. Where in drag racing, they pretty much allowed you to do what you wanted to with the guys. And of course, the guys were always waiting for you to make a mistake because they were sure you couldn't do it as well as they could.
So would they do things to try and get you to make mistakes?
You know, they did play a little bit of staging games and things of that nature, very definitely. You know, they would love to get inside your head before you ran and play the mind games and all. A lot of times it backfired on them.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think they were intimidated by you and were just sort of masking that and, you know, their ego?
I definitely think so. You know, they don't like to be made fun of among their peers. And that happened a lot, I think.
So, as you said earlier, you are Miss Mighty Mopar. And I know that when you were drag racing, that was a big deal. And I know you reached quite a bit of a level of fame in that day. What was it like having that? Were you treated differently once you became Miss Mighty Mopar and had that kind of association with a factory?
I think when it came to the factory, yes, there were more doors open, and I became Miss Mighty Mopar because they had a parts set up in their department that they needed to be able to sell those parts. And I went to quite a few grand openings and different SEMA shows and things of that nature.
So did you do like autograph signings and photo shoots?
Yeah, we did all of the, you know, the glorious things, so to speak. When it came time to race, then it was time to put on your jackets or helmets and all that and just be a racer. If you do too much of the glory thing, then pretty soon that's all you're recognized for.
So when it came time to race, you didn't really care about all that. You were a racer first and foremost, not a celebrity.
Definitely, and it had to stay that way or you couldn't concentrate. And concentration is part of what makes a good competitor.
Yeah, I remember you saying earlier that you used to have people coming up and knocking on your window in the staging lanes and how, you know, that was not something that you wanted before a race, right?
Exactly, because that would break your concentration, and that's the last thing that you wanted. You know, when you get in a race car, you're dead serious because you can get killed, you can kill somebody else, and the last thing you want is all the picture taking and, you know, can I get a word from you and all this and that.
What was your favorite class to race while you were racing under the Miss Mighty Mopar title?
Probably the Super Stock A car.
What do you think of the pro racers today as personalities compared to 30 years ago?
I think they're a much better group of people. They're better educated, they present themselves better, they speak better. I think all in all they are much better groomed to be stars than we were back then. You know, our time, these people came off the streets and everywhere else, and they did not pay any attention to how they said things. And a lot of times it came out quite crude.
Do you think there's more pressure for drivers today to be more formal and politically correct on camera because of the pressure of sponsorship?
Oh, certainly. You wouldn't want to sponsor someone that came across with a dirty sweatshirt on and said every other word something that no one wants to hear. You want to sponsor someone that they're proud of, and you want them to be proud of you, or they're not going to give you any sponsorship of any kind. Exactly, and you have to watch your P's and Q's and what you do in your off time also.
I just want to personally thank you, Judy, for paving the way for young women like myself years and years ago in the drag racing world and making it, you know, much easier for women to be competitive in the racing now. And, you know, without people like you, I don't know where we would be today. So I really want to thank you for that, and I thank you for joining us in this interview today. And
my pleasure.
I hope we can enjoy the races.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to watching you.
Thank you.
Oh, nice job, Alex Roggio. Hey, where did you guys record that at?
That was at Bandimere Speedway for the Mile High Nationals in Denver in July, at the end of July. And actually at the same race, we Richard and I got to see Hellcats for the first time in the wild. And this, like, what's so cool about this is that the Hellcat had just been announced. Pictures had just been released. We just saw the first Hellcat in real life at the Mopar block party the night before, and all of a sudden there were 8 Hellcats at the track, and I was like, holy crap, that's Hellcats right there. Like, this is... And then the engineers were like, oh yeah, they're from Australia. they were like, would you like to sit in it and rev it? I'm like, okay.
A lot of torque, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So what's under the hood? What makes a Hellcat?
Got a Hemi.
It's a 6.2 liter Hemi
So
with a
it's a big
supercharger.
With a supercharger.
It's the very first Hemi with a supercharger stock from the factory, and it's rated at 707 horsepower.
Holy cow.
But like there hasn't been a street car that's been rated at that high of horsepower. It's
Yeah, not ever, and not something that you can drive on the street.
Right.
This isn't a race car part.
No.
This is, I mean, you can race it, but it is a street car. And you can walk in the showroom and buy this car.
The fact that cars have to meet, as a group, have to meet the fuel standards requirements, and manufacturers, and the fact that they can still put out some monster like this and
Right.
get away with it, I love it.
Which is why it's so cool, and that's why it's taken so long for the engineers to come up with this combination to meet all of these needs. And I mean, it's just, I'm so excited that this has finally come out, because I can't wait I wish I could get one.
I'm the same way. I mean, first off, of the pony cars that have been resurrected, although the Mustang has been in production all along, I'd take the Challenger over all of them.
They have done so right with the body on this thing.
Yeah.
It is so slick. They are just gorgeous cars.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing it before it first came out at the Mopar Nationals in Vegas, and they had a silver one sitting in the booth, and then a silver 71. And you can see the family resemblance.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, they're very close. The belt line on the new one's higher, and it's a little bit flatter on the sides than the original. But
a
you
little
can
more
definitely
beefy looking,
Yeah, you can definitely see the family resemblance in that car. And it just, I look at that and I go, wow, Dodge, yeah, that's great. They should have brought out the Cuda too.
Yeah.
There's me on the phone probably telling somebody like, no, really, I'm standing next to a bunch of Hellcats. At the same race, this all happened in the same weekend. It was a great weekend. I got to spend time with Judy watching the race from the Mopar suite in the tower.
Wow.
It was so cool.
At that.
I mean, that was the 50th anniversary Hemi cake that nobody wanted to eat because it looked so cool.
That's too good.
Alan Johnson with his watchful gaze as you're sitting. He did this big mural on the wall. That was this is a photo from the actual final round of the race where he went on to win.
Oh, wow.
And in the next couple of photos you'll see we got to catch him on the stage of the
Podium.
Well, it's like a backstage thing.
Right, yeah.
Right there, like they give you the trophy and they have sparks flying. They do a little interview, and we talked to him afterwards. And we asked him like, what is it about this race that you do that makes you guys do so well? Because they've won like 7 out of, I don't know the exact number. They've won a bunch of the last Mopar Mile High Nationals, and he said, we definitely didn't have the fastest car out here, but we just rise up at this race. Something about this race. So it was a really, really cool weekend. I, can't wait to get back there.
Man, I'm still stuck on that Hellcat. What a fine looking car. And the very last time that you wrapped that thing up, you could hear, because the mic then, the camera was at the front of the car. You could hear that thing whine. It's like, oh, that's so...
Now, for those people that would like to read about the Hellcat, in this new issue of Motor Trend magazine, they've got a whole story on it. They brought one of the Hellcats out to Irwindale Drag Strip and pitted it against a ZL1 Camaro.
Cool. Good race.
So they talk about how the cars performed, and they actually put them down the track. There's a great shot of the Hellcat doing a John Force style burnout. And you got to look at it.
It's run... the recorded best ET of the Hellcat is like a 1098, I think, on drag radials. A 10-second car
street
from the
car.
factory.
Yeah, and that's the difference. The cars that came out to the track had street tires on them. They didn't have street radials. They didn't have race radials. They had actual production street tires that the car comes with. So you figure with a little bit of tweaking, better tires, maybe a traction system.
Sure.
Like a Caltrac or something on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just to get that thing to plant the tires a little bit better than a street car will. And remember, this is got to be it's designed to be driven on the street. So if you're trying to get a little extra oomph from the drag strip, you're going to need a couple of little tweaks, maybe some 90-10 shocks up front, some better tires, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be a 9-second car.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, Big Coon of 55 says over here, who is Alex driving a Super Comp for in Vegas?
I'm driving a altered. It's a Super Comp altered wheelbase car. It's owned by a man named Dick Krieger, who's been racing for a lot of years, and he's been very kind and let me get into the driver's seat of his car in the last few months, and I've raced the car about 5 races now, gone a few rounds in some bracket races, and I'm hoping to do well at the Super Comp race at the National.
Well,
Nice.
great. Alex, what are you doing this weekend? Where are you going to be?
Actually, tomorrow I'm going to be at it's like, I don't remember the name of the event. It's hosted by Nitto Tire, and they're doing this off-road Jeep course where I get to drive a brand new Jeep with these
There you go.
off-road
Cool.
tires and
Yeah.
up the hills of Malibu. So
Up
it's
the
a tough
hills of
job,
Malibu.
but somebody's got to do it, right?
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yes.
And Bruce, you're going to be working in the studio hard?
I'm sure I will be. And, I want to say this, Alex, before we go. We are going to talk trailers. Bob, what are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to be at the Thunderbird show in Buena Park. It's going to be great. If you like vintage 2-seat Thunderbirds, that's the place to be.
Oh, dang. Okay, let's start out. Here's the Magnum towing a U-Haul trailer.
This is a quick evolution of the Magnum throughout the years. This is in 2012. We started out towing our own trailer to and from the races, renting a U-Haul every weekend. It was ridiculousness.
Look at that gorgeous sky.
And
though.
there's actually snow in the mountains behind us on Palmdale Highway
Cool.
there. Then then this is a great shot of the
Vegas?
very first runner-up in PSCA. We got trophies for the first time in that series. You can see the cars getting more and more stickers on it as it goes by, and more sponsors. The ET's still in the 12-second range in Vegas, though. You can see we still got some stock street rims that weighed 1 million pounds up front.
But you got a new trailer. You got your own trailer.
Our own trailer now, pulling our own stuff that we can keep in there and not have to unload every weekend.
What?
Then we moved to these are spare rims from a V6 Magnum with a spacer so we could have skinnies. It was like the makeshift way to get skinnies up front. Again, our old 12x8 trailer, and
And I think eventually now we're moving up here.
Now we're moving
on
up. Now we got our own 24-foot trailer that we can actually tow with the tow vehicle, which we borrowed at first from Gavin Watt. Thank you very much, Gavin. And then this is the most recent shot. This was taken last Sunday. Richard and I drove down to Texas to pick up our brand new 40-foot gooseneck, and it's awesome.
So now you can load the car in the trailer. If it breaks, you don't have to worry about calling AAA to get towed.
We can load anything into that trailer.
And there you are launching, and that looks like Vegas there too.
That's actually St. Louis.
That's St. Louis,
this
okay.
Past couple of weeks ago.
And you've obviously worked out a different method for mounting the skinnies on the front.
Yeah, now we have weld wheels. Are
those tires off the ground in the front?
Absolutely.
Yes, they are, sir.
And you're running 1090s?
It depends on a couple of factors, but yes, 1090 something.
Wow.
Could be 1080.
Impressive. I'm impressed.
I gotta say thank you to all the people that have helped us out along the way, and I want to give a big shout out to Paul Kratz, who I think is watching. He's been a supporter of my racing and of our business for a couple years now, and I really want to thank him for everything that he does.
Nice. Good to see you guys again. Hey, speaking of Kratzes, Richard, hope you feel better, buddy.
Yeah.
And, wow, let's do this again. Bob, what do you think?
Let's do
How
this
about
again
next Tuesday
sometime.
night?
Yeah, why don't we do this again?
Same bat station,
Right.
same bat time.
Hey, it's a good time.
I gotta pull that Batmobile out of the garage and finish it. Oh, but first, we have to play the encore presentation of tonight's show. That's coming up next. Thanks so much for joining us. Bob Beck, Alex Rogio, me, Bruce Barker, and we're going to be back next week right here at SpeedSceneLive.com.
Speed Scene Live TV, the #1 online motorsports TV show. Brought to you by Curry Racing Rear Ends, M&H Tires, Hedman Hustler Headers, Aeromotive Fuel Systems, and TheFoat.com.